Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem.
Good morning. Welcome to Pimlico Racecourse. Start of a big weekend here. Naomi Tucker alongside Maryland Jockey Club's morning line odds maker Keith Fusel. Keith, excited?
Yeah, ready. Good weekend. Got some stakes tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
So the weather is perfect. We had a little bit of rain around here yesterday. You see the turf course right now labeled as good. So it could have used a little bit of rain. But, yeah, we had a little bit of a downpour for a while, for about an hour, hour and a half in this region yesterday.
Yeah, we did have some storms as well where I was living, so I wondered if it had made its way up here. And indeed it has, but plenty of action coming up. The match series continues tomorrow with 3 stakes races, the 100 grand debuted testimony, the Alma North and the Shallonen, all coming up tomorrow here at Pimlico. We have 8 races today, 9 races live carded here tomorrow. Very, very exciting to see some of our stars coming back here. Just looking at the Shallonen, we'll talk about it in a second as well. During lightning round, we got Where She Told Me to Go for trainee Brittany Russell. We got Lakai, Lebda, just all these veteran runners that we've come to know and love so much here. So really looking forward to it. Let's have a look at the current track conditions. We're trying to play weatherman here. Fast main track and indeed some moisture in the turf.
Absolutely. Turf is going to start as good. Main track is fast. It's been pretty fair playing for a while now. I think the turf will just take a little wait and see. The rail is out 20 feet as you see that right now. But, yeah, looking good to go. And, hey, we'll talk about it later when we get to the late pick 5. You got a little bit of a late pick 5 carryover this afternoon, too, of $15,000.
Indeed. Yeah. Always good to get on board when you see these carryovers, because you don't want to miss out when it goes out, like we saw with that Rainbow Pick 6 the other day. If you're sleeping on it, you might just miss out if you're not part of it. So let's kick things off here with the live action at Pimlico. Race number uno is start of the early pick 5 as usual. And Keith, you used the horse Kingston Piker on the rail that I didn't actually get to know. He is taking class relief here from that starter allowance optional claimer before that campaign, that first level allowance level at Charlestown, 6 furlong the distance. He's a bit more of a closer, isn't he? And I tend to stay away from those. I love my sort of front-running sprinters. Sure.
I mean, these sprints, you don't want somebody usually coming from well off the pace, unless you really see something going to heat up on the front end. Kingston Pike's been up against it a little bit, though. He got real good off the claim, topped out around a mid-80 buyer figure. It's regressed a little, but he's had some excuses. July 10th, yes, he was well beaten by Bernie's on Fire, but he was against the grain of the track that day. I'll forgive the Charlestown race, kind of unfamiliar there. And then May 7th was against it. So hopefully, he'll get a little bit of a flow up top. I think he can come back to one of those better numbers and rally into this pace. I think the whole key to this race is Company Clown. What does he bring to the table? He's in form, but now jumping off the claim from a very strong barn in Gonzalez going to Henry Walters. We'll see if he keeps Bernie's on Fire occupied, but to keep out Bernie's on Fire, he's a little bit tactical as well. He can kind of sit just off of it if he wants to.
Yeah, I have Bernie's on Fire in second, and I think he's going to try to dominate up front, but he doesn't have to. As you mentioned, Company Clown, wondering if he's going to try and make the run. Yeah. He got a soft lead last time out when he won. That's not going to happen here.
No.
So I was a little bit careful with him and included him underneath because it doesn't set up for his, sort of perfect scenario that he got last time. And as you highlighted, came from one of the sharpest barns. And current leading trainer, Claudio Gonzalez, has kept his form for Henry Walters at the lower claiming level, now stepping back up to this. I used the walk on top, a bit of a lengthier layup for trainer Damon Lodovico, 173 days. But I look back at 2 races before he got a break. That was 6.5 furlong at the claiming 10,000 almost at 3 level. That race was quite the form race. He won, and then there was 3 next out winners coming out of that. And he ran behind Supersonic Fractions that day. They were going very, very fast, and he's fresh. I think there's speed for him to target again. To me, it seems like it sets up well for him.
Yeah, one thing's Damon, he's patient. Now, this horse has been off since February. This is kind of real patient off of that big number. But he comes back in a spot, that works for him. 2 back, you talk about. To the front is a solid starter allowance type of horse. That's what you kind of get in here. So he's going to have to come back. He's going to have to run that lower 70. Can he do it off of this break? We shall see. Works are okay. Some steady works. I think Mice and Men is a horse that's run some sneaky good races. Overcame a little bit of a slow start last time, rallied past. I think he's a user in here as well in your exactas and tries for Dale Calpon. Listen, is Bernie's on Fire? I don't think he's a slam dunk at what I've got him 7-5. We'll see.
Yeah, I use him in second. I also try to beat him with a layoff horse. I agree with you. He looks on paper the horse to be for Claudio, dropping from that starter allowance. But just looking at some of his speed figures, really would have to keep up that good work to hold off these, because if some jump up here, they could definitely snatch him at the wire. Race number 2 is the start of the early pick 4, and Keith, you created a ticket for us. I had a look at it beforehand. Like the structure, like what you're doing in race 3. I understand.
Yeah. I think this is a good little betting card. Are you going to see some just knockdown, drag out bomb shots? I'm not so sure, but I think you'll see a steady stream of honest prices come through here. Early pick 4. I know you've got a ticket for later. Get you started with a $24 ticket. 2 deep here with the 1 and the 4. Green Eyes, I thought, ran quite well in her turf debut last time, and so did Keep Your Skates On. We liked her at a big price at 19-1. Came running late. Third race, we go all. How about this? We talked about it before the show. I mean, this 2-year-old maiden special weight field for the fillies. I think it's anybody's ball game. You got well-bred horses, trainers that can win with firsters, that do well with 2-year-olds, with second out starters. So lots to like in race number 3. Race 4, 2 deep. 4 the 7, Charm City Band going to make a turf debut here today for Hugh McMahon. I like that one, along with the 7, Always Misbehaving. Wrap it up with 2 horses again in the 5th, Devilish Affair off that troubled trip, and the 8, Butter Pecan. $24 for that early pick 4.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to race 3, but we'll get to that in just a second. Race number 2, Fillies and Mares, 3-year-old and up, claiming 16 to 12.5, nominous at 2 in their careers. It's our first turf event, 5 furlongs on the grass, as you can see behind us. And this time around, we see things exactly the same.
How about
That's how we get that super home. Do like Green Eyes on the Rail. Let's look back at that effort at this level in her last start, where she broke decently and ends up sitting 3 wide into the bend, kind of asked to move into quite a strong pace, which she does, and she's still there late despite covering ground, despite being close enough to that pace. I thought it was encouraging, and she was able to stick it to Keep Your Skates On, who ran 3rd.
Absolutely. Faslani just threw the knockout punch. I mean, right there, around the turn, opened up. See you later. She comes back and runs, an 81 buyer next time out against Olive Cat, who's in very good form. I like the way that Green Eyes, despite the wide trip, had enough to hold off Keep Your Skates On there, who had a little bit of trouble in her own right. She came all the way a little slow, had a little trouble leaving the turn, but outside to inside positional speed, I do think she's going to get the jump on Keep Your Skates On again. So
Yeah,
1497.
I agree with you. Keep your skates on just a little bit more average in terms of her gate speed and her braking ability. I think the number one, Green Eyes, the 2 is a scratch here, is indeed going to have the jump on her, especially with Xavier Perez on board. You know, he knows what to do with her. He knows.
Absolutely. And the 9, I see you've got a little bit of price horse in there as well. Hella and a Shell. That race was kind of sneaky good July the 10th, I thought. A little bit of trouble. Top of the stretch was inside, had to wait, a little hesitant to go through that seam at the 3/16. Shifted out, kept on willingly. You're going to pick up Acosta. This horse might come running late.
Yeah, see, I like the first thing I picked up was JD Acosta gets on board here, drops significantly in class. I think he's going to get after her. She wasn't that forwardly placed, whereas on debut, when she won, she was right up there. So I think I like the fact that JD is going to go, all right, I think this suits her. I'm going to put her in the mix of this and give her a chance to get at least maybe, some part of the money in here. Race number 3. That race that we've been talking about a fair bit. Of course, Rainbow Pig 6 starts here as well. But these 2-year-old fillies, I'm looking forward to these girls battling it out. A couple of first-time starters, but also a couple of horses with experience in here. 5.5 furlong the distance for this juvenile maiden special weight. Let's look at one of these fillies with experience. The number 7, Petition Prayer. We do have a video of her start where she kind of flopped out of the gate a little bit, didn't she? She wasn't as sharp as you would like to see, and also got bumped. I thought the race was kind of tough for her after that to try and get back into the swing of it. When you see those speeds, there's rushing forward. A
little bit of a sleep at the wheel there out of the gate, then bumps with another horse. And, I mean, she was well back. We're not going to pick her up till very late here, but watch her roll through on the outside. Watch this little run here, the little flash, and we'll continue it out into the gallop out. Was really rolling up towards the leaders. Petition Prayer. We picked this horse on top, I think, at almost 8-1 in debut. Divining Rod is getting the winners.
Yes.
The mare, I think, when it was done race, second dam, one first out, had a sibling that ran like an 82 with a win first time out. Hammy Smith, smaller sample here, past 3 years on the dirt. 3 for 10, 30%. That's 7 for 10 in the money with 2-year-old maiden special weight types making its second career start. With an ROI of 284, I should say, and another stat in here as well. We're not going to show it on the screen, but Dale Cap will talk about the White Knuckle Flyer as well.
Yeah, no, Petition Prayer, you're right here. Divining Rod is 3 from 9 with his first-time starters. He's made a terrific career start here with his juvenile. So I use her in second. Let's talk about your top selection here. I use her underneath White Knuckle Flyer, first-time starter for trainer Dale Capuano. We know he's been very successful with these firsts, gets them ready. Kind of reasoning for me that I didn't put her on top here. Now, I like the works, especially that gate work, the 5 furlong, because that's very similar to what she's about to do, 5.5 furlong the distance. So you like them already having a taste of going fast and keeping it on for a prolonged period of time. Bit more of a turf family. So I get that Dale would probably just feel, I think she's going better on the main track. We're going to put her in here. But the bottom side, to me, says, let's try things on turf.
Agreed. Half the Eagle Terrace. There's a horse, only ran once, but really was impressive in debut a few years ago at Laurel. The mare, what do I have? 6 starters, two debut winners, 2 places. Dale, with this kind of move, this was a stat we'll steal from a couple weeks ago, if you remember, Naomi. Now he is 4 for 7 and 7 for 7 in the money with the 2-year-old maiden special weight firster. So we've got a couple good stats here for Dale and Hammy Smith. White Knuckle Flyer has been scratched a couple times, but good works. Plenty of 5/8 under her belt. She should be dead fit, ready to roll.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Dale's first-time starter maiden special weight, that ties in with my top selection because Sensen ran in that race that Hicktown won. That was Dale Capuano's first-time starter there. That was actually quite a strong race. I know the figure didn't come up as sharp as, for example, we've seen some of the other 2-year races now starting to come back. You see that the progression is starting to become evident in terms of, 1 month later, 2 months later, they're starting to run up. So these 60 buyers instead of these 30 numbers that don't look as good on face value. But what I did like is that Sensen to me still looked a little bit immature in that debut. When I saw her, I thought she was, downwards build and she probably needed some time. Now that was 3 weeks ago. Would have liked to have seen her with more time, possibly. But what I did like is that she has a terrific stride on her. She's by Arrogate, one of the first, the first Arrogate I've ever laid my eyes on. The late Arrogate, of course, very unfortunate. Dubai World Cup winner. But JD Acosta came back, and we were all watching it, and says, look at the stride on her. Absolutely eats up the ground, and I like this extra half furlong for her. I think that helps her because she covers the ground that well, and hopefully get a little bit of a price in a very, very competitive heat.
I think she's going to escape at a price again, because look at the trainers you're dealing with, trainers that are prominent with these 2-year-olds: Brittany Russell, Claudio, Dale, and the list goes on. Even Ricky Silliman's done quite well. And this horse on the bottom, all worked up, is bred as a half to Bethlehem Road. Won its first 3 at Parks with big numbers. So there's lots of ways you can attack. That's why I went all in here, because you're looking at the 3-horse Murph. We've both got in third. I see mainly turf, but she's going to give a shot here on the dirt. You know the horse is going to draw play with the combination of Sheldon and Brittany.
3 out of 6 siblings to Murph placed on their first start, but indeed families more long and turf oriented. Malibu Moon 13% was 2-year-old first is decent enough, but it's especially the connections that we're after here, isn't it? Brittany Russell, Sheldon Russell. They had their first winner actually at Saratoga. I was going to mention that later on in lightning round as well. Yodo Ehu, if you remember, in race number 2 at Saratoga on Wednesday. So congrats to them. They've been flying. As we move on to race number 4, which means started at late pick 5 with quite a tasty carryover, $15,000, 457 in the pot, which certainly will attract a fair bit of play here. Looking forward to it, and hence I thought I'd create a late pick 5 ticket. Now, I must admit, not the easiest sequence is late pick 5. Not as straightforward as I hoped to. Couldn't find a single and was forced to go pretty tight in some legs. And even just going 3 deep felt like tight in some of the turf events as well. But race 4, I used the 2 horses, the 4 and the 7 here on the turf. Race 5, I go 3 deep there using the 3, the 5, and the 8. The 3, my top selection, Devilish Affair, you highlighted her unfortunate trip. Hopefully a bit more luck in the running today. Race 6, 3, 5, and 9. Again, turf event that is pretty tricky to figure out. I end up on Airport on the outside, who went against 3-year-olds and older last time out, now back against his own age. Race number 7, 2, 3, 4 for me. The 4, my girl, just so sharp, and she ran a great race against Wicked Hot last time on the main track, and hopefully finish things off still alive in this late pick 5. 2 and 9 going the 2-turn mile here, on the turf. Prince of Caps stepping it up against winners here for the first time for Claudio Gonzalez. $54 flat for the late pick 5. Must admit, was definitely tempted to make it more like $100 ticket, to feel like if there was a price, I can be on board with it. But perhaps if you have deeper pockets, you can add a couple yourself. So this is a good start for you here in race number 4, claiming 16 to 12.5. Non-winners 2 a lifetime. 5 furlongs on the grass. And we'll start with my top selection. You have him in second, the number 7, always misbehaving. The video we have of his last outing, which was right here at that starter allowance level. And he sat behind the pace. I liked the position he was in. Perfect spot. You know, he was 12 to 1 that day, had a bit of a break before that. This was first time for the Alamri stable. Tried to come up on the rail. You see it here. Had to change course there. Johan Rosado pulls him back out there. Lacked punch to collar the leader, but nonetheless, off the bench, game effort.
Good enough field. That was a very good effort. We talked about Hassan Alamri. He's deadly on the turf, especially with the sprinters. Has done quite well. Solid ROI year in and year out. The only question here is like kind of the drop down to 16 off of that big effort. So we'll see. I go Charm City Band. I'm going to go with the 4, first time on the turf for this 4-year-old by Can the Man. Can the Man 17% with the turf runners. I'm looking at this race, looking at the speed. I think he's the speed of the speed. He's quick. I'll dismiss the last race at Delaware. Just got caught up in a pretty quick pace. A little better field. I think the turf is going to wake this guy up. Look at Hugh McMahon, first time on the turf. 11 starters, 27% with an ROI of over 3. He's good year in and year out doing this with these turf sprinters, hitting it for the first time. So I think Charm City Band is going to be a major player up front.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he's going the minimum distance on the turf as well. And as you highlighted, he has natural speed. Top side of the breeding suggests that he should be able to handle it. And this is the 3rd time lucky, perhaps, that he's finally getting on the grass. Lost just on face value, lost 2 times, tried to get on the turf. couldn't get there and has been running decently enough on the main track to transfer his speed figures possibly here as well. Then you use the number 1 Deshackled on the rail for Hamilton Smith. He's been running decently enough as well and has taken the class relief that he needs. Well, although I did like his last effort here, that seemed to me an improvement from that turf run before sprinting.
Yeah, this is a guy, he's flashed ability, and he just never has gotten there. I mean, I've chased this horse enough. I think he's a horse that just kind of runs an even race towards the inside and will pick up a piece for you.
Yeah, agree there, as we'll take a quick break and continue with the final couple of races here.
And they're off. Second in the 2-pap. Round off her inside. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 on top. Last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
8 race card coming up on this Friday. We're on race number 5, Naomi Tucker-Keith Fustel Pimlico race course. And let's talk about the horse that I used on top and you use in second here, Devilish Fair. Optional claimer start allowance for the ladies. 6 furlong dash on the main track. And let's look back the last time she went course and distance here. Bad start. And then later on at the top of the stretch, also kind of waiting forever as they kept on being in front of her. I just thought that she was sort of at the wrong place at the wrong time. I wasn't as happy with how it worked out for her that day. You can see here, she's not away as quickly. Now, she's never up front. But then, unfortunately, this is kind of what you get for not being right there, right?
Yeah, she had to steady. If you saw that, a few strides out of the gate, comes up and just, I tell you, as Forrest always does, is able to find the ability. Get to the inside, save a little ground, just draft up and
but
behind horses.
She pulled her out quicker there.
Maybe
I thought
a
she
little
waited
bit
too long.
sooner, yeah.
I thought she waited too long.
The winner went out, and I thought there might have been actually a claim of foul that race, but behind the couch, nobody was beating her that day. She just exploded from the 316s Paul home. That was a great ride that day by that rider. I think it was Ruiz just waiting behind the contested pace. Is she going to get a contested pace again today? I think it's going to be enough flow. The blinkers go on. Might keep her a little bit sharper. She's got to come out clean. And she ran quite well 2 races back, too, against the grain of the racetrack. Just a range-up, hang kind of a run. She'll bring a race. I mean, she'll bring a rally in here, there's no doubt, with Forest Boyce Barn. Doesn't run a lot of horses, don't have a big stable. Man, they've been good this meet. Very good.
Agreed. They've been doing very, very well here, Rob Fukalik. I like the blinkers on. I want her to be in a position that she perhaps encounters a little bit less traffic in running. The number 8, Butter Pecan. Every time I see that name, I get kind of hungry. But I like her here as well. Carlos Mancia taking a plunging class from that open allowance class at Delaware. She lost for second only by a head, actually. Was third that day. She covered plenty of ground. But what I really like about her is that, especially in her last 2 races, shows a lot of willingness, a lot of tenacity, which is exactly what you want to see for a horse that you pick, right?
I think, yeah, and I think she's just run against a little bit better. You know, they got away with running her for 20,000 first time out, hence she's eligible to kind of come into this race, be protected. This is a slight drop in class. If she holds form, or even if she keeps advancing like she has, I think she'll be able to kind of rally along with Devilish Affair and maybe outfinish her the last 16th of a mile. Because I think Hufflepuff, she wants to be up towards the front. Fancy Princess brought some speed. Alive 8 is fresh, could be into that mix as well. So I think it sets up from somebody from just off the pace, even practically Dizzy will be part
agree.
of that flow.
There seems to be a few in here that could be quite fast once the gates open. So our top 2 is definitely the ones that would take full advantage of that. And then as well, the number 5, Practically Dizzy, like you said, doesn't mind that either. Although she wasn't on the lead last time out when breaking her maiden. She actually had to get to work for that to get it. And then was a decent pace that she put on and still was managed to kick clear by 4 lengths. Now, that was a goes against maidens, but the speed figure showed that she ran fast enough to be in the mix here. Race number 6, first level optional claim here for the 3-year-olds. 5 furlong on the turf, the distance here. And we'll start with your top selection, the number 3, Rad Paisley. Now, this is a lightly raced colt, only has had 2 start. His debut was on grass, missed the kick, and ended up losing a bit of ground early because of that sort of sluggish start. Then came back on the main track showing, hey, I know how to get away
Yeah.
from the gate. Don't worry, I've got this. Now back on the grass again. That could certainly be quite the combo.
Yeah, dealt with a lot of adversity first time out on the grass, and really kind of once he finally got it together the last eighth of a mile, came on very strong, much more professional second time out on the dirt. I'm not terribly, worried about this move back to the turf. So look at the horse he faced last time on the turf first time. Prince Pear came back to run a good second against a good horse. The horse went down, I think, to Virginia Grateful Bred and won a stakes. So Rad Paisley, good break right into the flow. Maybe he doesn't want to get tangled up in a duel with maybe the one Gale wins. We've got some other speed in here. Obviously, we know its sizzling time is very, very fast. By not this time, there's a price horse you may want to throw in underneath because, there's not this times have done well on the turf. But, hey, Rad Paisley, I liked what he showed last time. He looked pretty poised. I think he's going to step up again and be right there.
Yeah, you're saying I don't mind getting back on the turf. I actually like it for him. I thought it was a good effort first time out there, that they put him on the grass on debut show, that they thought it suited him better, and now getting back on it again. So I actually think that helps him out here after showing that he's learned his lesson and is very capable of gunning it early, as you have to when you're sprinting the minimal distance. I take Airport because his turf debut was against 3-year-olds and older, so he was facing tougher horses back against his own age group now, and he had some trouble twice. I think the highlight was when he was behind runners and clearly on the bit to get going with things. That was about the 3/8 pole, and Yoma had to take him back really sharply, took away momentum. He asked him to accelerate subsequently. He did, so he was there, but he's the type of horse that needs time to get rolling, so it just didn't set up in his favor. Still came back a good speed figure. I think he can do even better here.
The figure was better than visually. I thought, he lost a little bit of momentum, but at the 3/16 he had a chance, and horses just went by him, but they were better horses. The third place finisher, he'd run like a 77 against Dubini, who we know is a quality veteran turf sprinter. So, and again, he's in the clear. Stone speed to his inside. Uncle Romy, the long shot, will be chasing as well. It's sizzling times up front. He will be able to draft in, save some ground. Shouldn't be able, avoid that bottled up trip, I should say, maybe from the 3/8 pole. So that should enhance the run in here. Definitely to drop back versus 3-year-olds, because that was a pretty salty group last time out.
Yeah. What about Mamba on 3, the number 5, coming in for trainer Carlos David? Has been preparing at Monmouth and had 2 back-to-back turf sprint wins at Gulfstream Park. Is taking a bit of a drop in class on the My Frenchman Stakes last summer. He showed speed, but just wasn't able to hold off some of the late runners there. But I still thought it was a decent effort.
Yeah, and gets back maybe to a little bit firmer ground than that last race at Monmouth. And out of that race, a 6, only beaten 2 lengths. As we've seen these turf sprints, there could be only a couple lengths between 7, 8, 9 horses. But the 5th place finisher, who was right there with him, did come back and ran an 80 at Delaware against older allowance runners. So that field keys up against the right kind of horses. This is a good horse race. I think this is, if I had to say on the card, this is the best race on the card to me. Maybe it is, obviously it's our 62.5, but there's some good little horses here. And they got speed, they got a little stamina. Kenny had a notion, I only have him in the mix. He's a good horse as well. So, yeah.
Tough race Mamba on 3 came out of. That certainly ups his chances there. It always pays to look back at who has he faced and what have they done subsequently, and have they done decently enough? Well, that sounds pretty decent to me, what you just highlighted there. Sue Loves Barbados, both of us use underneath. Now, interesting thing about this runner is that I've always thought he was better going long, either on the main track or on the turf track, because he's quite sizable. He really covers a lot of ground. He stands over it, really got a big stride. But then you look at his performance, his career best came sprinting 2 starts ago here when he was rallying late. So clearly, perhaps physical isn't everything when they show that they're more talented doing something else.
That's true, because he should have held on a little bit better last time. They did not go that fast. I mean, no real reason with the turf course. I thought he should have carried it. Beacon Hill's going to be a good one, it looks like, moving forward on the turf. But back to the race. There's Prince Pear, the 2-back race against Grateful Bred. Closed in after trouble. You're going to see, I think, a blanket finish coming in race 6.
I think this is a very tough race as well. The race number 7 for the Maryland bred, 6 furlong the distance, 3-year-old and up for the ladies. First level allowance, and you and I both landed on the number 4, My Girl, and I think it's because of her last main track ever. We do have a spotlight on her there, where she ran into a very tough Wicked Hawk. Now, we all loved wicked hot after she came into that race with a 12 length maiden score. But my girl gave her a run for her money that day. You can see she did have the jump on wicked hot. My girl right there on the outside, but certainly very, very good late and really kind of locked horns with her. She wasn't ready to give up. You can see she's still battling with the horse on the rail, and then she's going to get wicked hot coming up on her outside. The next foe she has to hold off.
No, and she just makes her work for it every step of the way here. The last 16ths of a mile, wicked hot, staying on that left lead, maybe trying to hang just a little bit. My girl, good effort. Had an excuse the first time in Robbie Bales' barn in that return try. Off slow, bore out at the start. Turf was in the game. Back here, doesn't need to lead. She should be 1-2. She really should. She gets back anywhere close to that race against Wicked Hot. I think she's going to be tough to deny.
I agree with you as well. User number 2, she's a Rolling Stone underneath. Now, she did it the hard way on debut. She was going around 3 runners, had her nose in front for at least a furlong without wavering, kept it all together in that really professional first out score. Got enough time to get over that as well.
Talking again, we talked about the number. Okay, this number, I think, not really indicative of how visually strong this race was. That was a pretty good field, able to move up into it and held firm every step of the way. I think she improves off debut for Damon.
Yeah, great name as well. She's a Rolling Stone out of Taylor Jagger by Bourbon Courage. Hitch a Ride, I use in my exact here for training Gary Capuano. Now, Carol is coming to Pimlico just for this ride. We hadn't seen her in a couple of days, and now we see her back here just for her. And she dueled on the front and didn't cave under pressure last time out at allowance level. So technically speaking, you always think that maybe, the restricted allowance races for Maryland bred are coming up easier. That really doesn't always seem to be the case,
No, it does not. And this is a filly here that from 2 to 3 has made a jump. The Lasix has gone on. She's improved. Major excuse, first time back off. She was bounced around. Edie Meany, too good of it. That was just a strong race. She'll be up with it. Is she going to be stone right on the lead? I tell you, I think Six Pack Sarah's going to have to go, but she can attend it. She's rateable, as is my girl. Very, very, a little bit tough to separate these two because it looks like Hitch a Ride's clearly going in the right direction right now.
Yeah, it certainly seems so. We'll turn the page for the nightcap. Start allowance optional claimer. We close things off with a turf event here. We're going the 1 mile. And I land on the number 2, Prince of Caps. Yes, he's stepping up against winners for the first time here. But new trainer for Claudio Gonzalez was able to break his maiden on debut here on the Pimlico turf. And I think perhaps, or at least that's always what we hope to see, isn't it? When they go to a new barn to take that next step with different training regimes, we know Claudio's done very well with getting these new recruits in and then getting them winning at his current home track.
Yeah, absolutely. Beat me out of a lot of money that day. I did not really like that. Prince of Caps, 60 cents to the dollar, but hey, we move on. I go outside for a man. I think this horse ran pretty well last time. Slower start, rushed up into a slower pace, just couldn't quite keep going. The 2-back try was good enough for me. Run it right back with those 2 horses, be determined, and for a man. I'm hoping there's enough flow. When you really break it down, I mean, who's going to get to the front? Maybe a special, I'll let you pronounce that, a speciala? Especially, I don't know. Anyhow, right to the front for that one. I think she'll carry it. That's why I kind of made her 5-1. I had her a little bit higher. Had him a little bit higher. Lowered him because of that, the lack of speed in this race. He'll try to take advantage of that, along with Recycle, who should be forward. Yeah,
I put Special on board because I think she's got a bit of a pace advantage here and gets Fergal Lynch as well. We always like it when Fergal gets on board. We know how terrific he is with his timing when it comes to riding this turf course. I have some interest in number 7, Be Determined as well. But let's move on to lightning round. We've got plenty to discuss there.
All right.
As we'll keep you up to date when it comes to the jockey and trainer standings, but not much has changed, has it, Keith?
I don't know, a little bit. It looks like this has tightened up a touch, right, since last week. J.D. Acosta lurking.
He had a triple,
like a shark in the ocean there. Right? Look at that, 39-33. Javier Toledo doing quite well. Then the gap down to Jorge Ruiz, but very, very capable rider, Colony. JD, though, going to make them work for it, it looks like.
JD is starting to close in on current perennial leader, Charlie Marquez. He's been leading for week after week really, really putting in terrific effort and rides. And then as far as our trainer standing, of course, Claudio Gonzalez, the numbers, the placing of his horses. But we do see the trainer standing underneath for the second place being very, very tight-knit,
Yes.
just one apart here. Capuano, Ness, McGee, Russell, all very, very strong trainers that are really, really racking up the winners with smaller numbers in terms of their output.
Trust me, those guys. And they're running numbers at them. What's Dale got? 4 or 5 in today. It's just going to be probably too tough to catch Claudio.
Yeah, it looks like quite the question here, especially as soon we'll be racing back at Laurel Park again.
Right.
There has been an announcement that we will be back with training at Laurel on August the 10th. I do believe live racing starts on 9th of September. But it will be nice for a lot of the horsemen and women to be able to go home, won't it?
Yeah, all these people have been uprooted. I'm surely not the most comfortable situation for anybody involved. But as a team, the whole community, this racing community, they have kind of gotten together, bonded, and gotten through this. So hats off to everybody involved, top to bottom. It's been a tough task, no doubt, monumental task ahead of everybody with the work down at Laurel and then being displaced. But yeah, we'll get things back to normal here shortly.
Yeah, normality will resume once again after the track has been maintained. Looking forward to seeing those first workers on the Laurel Park dirt course. Match series coming up tomorrow. 3 stakes race. I already highlighted the Chaladin Stakes, so let's talk about the deputed testimony.
Okay.
You have Harper's first ride. Is he gearing back up to that form that he was in before being moved to the Diodoro stable, and now back with trainer Claudio Gonzalez? First race back was a win for him.
Yeah.
Can he make it happen again?
He's going to have to move up a little bit off of that win as well. The number came back a little light. I was a little 9 to 5. I think is about right on the line. Maybe they'll come in a little bit more on him, but you've got a horse from the rail, Jamie Ness's horse, as well as Cordmaker coming back off a little fresh, and they could give him fits. So I think it's a competitive event. Harper's first ride. We'll see if he can get back to being the top Harper's first ride. He's
So
going to have
I
to.
actually used Magic Michael on top.
Did you? Okay.
At this point, because if you look at that last race, the Battery Park Stakes, ran against Fat Man. Fat Man was already a grade 3 winner already and had been running in at grade 1 level in the Churchill Downs Stakes, where he was 5th, only beat by 1 1/4 lengths. So just a terrific form horse to kind of compare. And Magic Michael was behind a wall of horses last time. I had to get angled out and was gearing up really well. So he seems to be in tip-top shape here for trainer Jamie Ness. So I'm trying to beat Harper's first ride, I guess, here with Magic Michael on the rail. But a tough field coming up there. Really looking forward to it. You already highlighted Cordmaker as well. We know he won it up the front in the Harrison E. Johnson Memorial with Victor Carrasco. Victor Carrasco, of course, so fond of Cordmaker. Such a long relationship they've had. Really looking forward to these 3 stakes events coming up. Now, as we already highlighted here on the screen, the Very One Stakes victorious Caravel was able to get the first graded stakes victory for trainer Merriman here, Elizabeth Merriman, excuse me. Quite the effort. We saw her getting the job done in the Very One Stakes before, but taking that next step, up that next level at the Spa where it matters, doesn't it?
If that didn't just kind of get your attention, the Very One with what she had to do to overcome to win that race and move on. I've liked her even since last year. She's really good, and now we've got Bobby Flay's part of the ownership and is going to be transferred over to Graham Mosh. But as Lizzie Merriman said, I read one of the articles, Graham's right next door, right? So they're there in the same barn, I think, at Fair Hill. But that had to be bittersweet, tough when you got to see a horse like that kind of leave you. But she's good. She's real good.
The Merrimans have done an absolutely terrific job developing these horses, breeding this horse, and really keeping a finger in the pot with a lot of different activities here on the Mid-Atlantic circuit. I do believe Liz Merriman maintains a minor share,
small share
as well
yep.
in Caravel, so can keep following her success. As we want to highlight another Mid-Atlantic trainer that created the late double here at Saratoga. Up in Saratoga, we had Frock win the final race on the card. It was a turf allowance going along with Mike's Girl. She had been preparing at Pimlico, and the 5-year-old just held on there. As you can see, Mike's Girl being able to, get to the wire there, but a fast-closing rail runner coming up, and that created the late double for Mid-Atlantic-based trainers. Elizabeth Merriman into Charles Frock. I had to highlight it. This was terrific on the Saturday at Saratoga.
Yeah, that was incredible. I ran into the house. My man, Action Andy, gave me a call. Was driving home. He says, Frock just won the last at Saratoga. I said, I ran in as fast as I could to turn on the TV to see what it was going to be like in the winner's circle. I mean, 2021, to me, it's the year of the Frock. I guess that's what you would call it, because that town, I'm sure they shook that place up a little bit that night.
Yeah, they
didn't
must
know
have
what they were getting into.
had quite the celebration there. We always know
Good
when a
stuff.
Frock horse wins because you can feel the grandstand shaking in jubilations. And as
Yeah.
already highlighting, Brittany Russell also got her first win of the meet with Yodel Ehu on Wednesday. So just, massive congratulations to all these Mid-Atlantic-based trainers making their mark at one of the premier meetings in the country at present.
Yeah, and that was the key. I mean, this has been a circuit, just, Pimlico, Laurel, back on this village. Our horses, when they went out of town, you better pay attention. I mean, our nickel horses way back, I mean, we would go and beat the $10,000 horses anywhere around. I mean, that's how good it was. We're getting back to that. So good to see, the quality showing. It can take a little trip on the road, and like I say, the Frocks winning up there, that was great.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye out on these Mid-Atlantic prepared as well as bred runners across the country. Really here looking for their success. So 8 races coming up here live racing today at Pimlico. Wish you the best of luck. I'll be back later in this afternoon with Calais Francois, and Keith, you'll be doing the charts upstairs, right?
We'll be getting at it for Equibase. You got it.
All right. Good luck, everyone.
All right, buddy. Good luck.